I just love the Torah portion of Kedoshim because it's almost like the whole Judaism's in this Torah portion. There's so much in it. So let's dive in. Right at the beginning, chapter 19, verse 4, do not turn to worthless idols. Now obviously this means worshipping idols. We don't worship idols in Judaism, but there's something deeper here. Don't turn to them. Don't even look at them. The soul is most connected with the faculty of sight. What you look at deeply affects you. And that's why there's always this concern about kids watching violence on television and being careful about what you look at even in the street or in newspapers and magazines, on the internet. We need to be so careful. Don't even turn to worthless idols. Never mind worship them, because, says Rabbi Isaac Luria, Kabbalist, the sight, the vision is so deeply affected. It so deeply affects your soul. Chapter 19, verse 9, when you reap the harvest of your land, you should not fully reap the corner of your field. Now, Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar, who is the famous Or HaChaim, his commentary on the Torah is called Or HaChaim, 18th century scholar, he writes an interesting insight here, that we all have this psychological problem. That, if you kind of do a sin, you think, what the heck, I'm not so holy anymore, I might as well do another one. There's this rollerball effect of just the stone gathering moss and this downhill spiral. How do we avoid that? So he says there's the hint in this verse. When you reap the harvest of your land, if you do a sin, and therefore you've reaped the harvest, it's all gone, and you feel spiritually barren, do not fully reap the corner of your field. Just stop there. Don't get carried away. You did it once, it was a mistake, it's over. Don't get in the reaping mood, because psychologically that's what we tend to do, and it's a mistake. Everyone sins, everyone gets off the path once in a while, but the important thing is not to get carried away by it, and to get back on the track as soon as possible. Chapter 19, verse 13, we have the mitzvah, the commandment of paying workers on time. And it says in the writings of Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal, this interesting statement that he would be very, very careful about this mitzvah. And sometimes he would even delay his afternoon prayers. You're supposed to say mincha, the afternoon prayer before sunset, but he would even delay his religious obligations because he was hunting down his workers so he could pay them on time. You're supposed to pay them before sunset. Very beautiful insight into the personal piety of the Arizal, how important he considered this mitzvah of paying people on time. Because you know what it's like to be to adhere to a religion. We sometimes look at the rituals as very important and think about financial matters. Do we really need to serve God there? That's where God goes out of the window before anything else. So the Arizal was a Kabbalist and a perfect, wonderful example of piety, seeking out his workers to pay them before he would even pray. And what did he say? How can I pray to God when this such a great mitzvah has come my way of paying my workers? How can I even pray to God when I'm busy doing this? Chapter 19, verse 27, we have this idea of growing the beard. Why does Judaism speak about growing beards? I mean, what is the point of this? So, there's a Kabbalistic insight, Rabbi Isaac Luria in his Shah HaMitzvahs, where he says, fascinatingly, that God, so to speak, has a beard. Man is created in the image of God. Of course, God has no image or form, but we nevertheless metaphorically attribute to him a beard. Why? What is God's beard? It's just like the beard runs down your face and it runs downwards. And there's a lot of little hairs in the beard. So these are channels of flow. God's beard, so to speak, is the channels of flow through which blessing reaches us in this world. And therefore the Kabbalists believe, and the Chassidic masters endorse this, that through growing the beard, we actually allow that flow to enter our lives, and it does bring blessing into our lives to have a beard. Idea of Rabbi Isaac Luria. Chapter 20, verse 17. If a man takes his sister, marries his sister, it's a disgraceful act. Chesed, this is what the Torah calls it. Chesed normally doesn't mean disgrace. Normally it means kindness. So why does the Torah describe incest as a kind of kindness? It's a very strange expression. So the Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, founder of the Chassidic movement in the 18th century, said the following, that love can either be of a good form or of a dysfunctional form. The urge to marry one's sister is a form of love, but it's an unhealthy form of love. Chesed, it is love, but it's just channeled in the wrong direction. And so, and this is actually what happens when love is not directed healthily in this world. We're actually reflecting divine chesed, divine love, and we're channeling it into the wrong places. So very important to keep the emotions under wraps and to direct our love, which is a reflection of what's above, in the right places. Chapter 20, verse 22. We have the Torah portion is ending with the idea, we speak about, God says, my chukai, my super rational commands. These are the mitzvahs which don't seem to make any sense, like don't eat pork. There's no real reason for that, but it's just a decree of God. Now, should we do these decrees because we find them abhorrent, or because God says so? So, Rashi says here, quoting from the Midrash, a person should not say, I find pork disgusting, or I don't want to wear a mixture of wool of linen. Rather, he should say, I do want to do these things, but what can I do? God tells me not to. In other words, we're supposed to do them out of acts of obedience. Rabbi Dov Ber of Mezrich, the Mezricher Maggid, 18th century Chassidic master, successor of the Baal Shem Tov, said that this doesn't apply to a Baal Teshuvah, someone who is a penitent, someone who's returned to the faith from a life or a period of non-observance, should not say, I want to eat pork, but what can I do that God says? Because he might go and eat that pork. Because not so long ago he was eating pork. So therefore, says Rabbi the Mezricher Maggid, this teaching does not apply to Baal Teshuvah. But the Bavitcher Rebbe says that it depends what level of teshuvah you did. If you did teshuvah out of fear, then yes, you might return. But if you did teshuvah out of love, it's penetrated deep right into your heart, and you've eradicated any trace of your prior self, then indeed, even if you're Baal Teshuvah, you can say, I want to eat pork, but what can I do that God has told me that I can't? Finally, and this is a bit scary, so turn this video off now if you are easily disturbed. Chapter 20, verse 25, we have the laws of non-kosher creatures recorded immediately after the laws of forbidden relations. Why is that? So Rabbi Menachem Rekanati speaks about this bizarre and somewhat chilling idea of reincarnation into an animal. He says if a person does one of these forbidden relations, he or she could actually be reincarnated into an animal as a form of tikkun, as a form of atonement. So that's why we have laws of forbidden relations and then laws of kosher animals. And actually, I won't do it here because it's far too detailed, but if you look in his commentary on the Torah, he goes through different animals and explains which particular sins are atoned for and achieve tikkun through various animal incarnations. Anyway, enough of that. Let's finish with a spiritual message for the week. Kedoshim. I love the name of this parsha. Holiness. In the modern world, in the secular world, we don't often speak about being holy, but we should. I like the idea of holiness. I want to be holy. I want to bring holiness into my life. We don't always succeed, but it's something beautiful to aspire to. Bring holiness into your world, into your everyday life. Make it the focal point of your consciousness. Holiness is the opposite of your ego and its antidote. Think about that, and please join us next week for Torah in Town.